Welcome to Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show will have a talk about a Linux project, such as a Linux distribution, a desktop environment, or application. We also chat about the news or any variety of topics from the community. Anything that is Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, a Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project. And with me today, I got Jinda, Swift, Colin. Colin is back. Oh my goodness. Ulfnic, hey. Eris, and Mark. How is everybody? I mean, I'm just absolutely excited because Colin is here. I've missed him. It's been, I feel like it's been all year.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Well, how is everybody?
Excellent.
Fantastic. Be sure to do the straw poll. There are 2 polls to straw. Or is there 1? Did I misread? Yes, there's 2.
There's 2, but I mean, I don't know about the Telegram. I guess that I don't know if everybody uses Telegram.
Yeah, I mean, there are 2 polls. Go ahead and check them out. One is about the straw polls continuing to be anonymous, and the other is about the Telegram layout. So check those out, and make sure you vote on those while the voting's good. So, Colin, you've been gone for, I don't know, it seems like a dog's age, and I'm not even sure what that means.
Yeah, probably the longest I've ever been gone from chatting.
Yeah, I guess maybe like would it be like a kangaroo's age or a wallaby's age? What would you say there in Australia?
Have no idea what the ages are of a kangaroo. I know a dog's 7 years per human year.
Well,
so that's how long it feels like it's been.
Do you still know what Linux is? It's been a while.
What's that? What's that?
Well, it's this really cool thing. It makes your computer do awesome stuff, and yeah.
Well, I've had a chance to do some Linux in the last week or so, just here and there, and I've sort of been looking around at some distros and the best way to have a continuous, what would Peppermint say, a continuous delivery OS. That's, like I'm running Arch Linux now. I've been running that for the last 15 months, and that's the easy Archer program. So it's not as if a techie person who installed Arch, I use the Calamares installer, so it makes it easy for me, and it's all set up for my personal use. So that's how my Arch Linux has been. And I was just looking around at I've been looking at all these other things that are coming out, these, what do they call them, the immutable desktops and all those sorts of things. And then it had me looking and searching at other, what can you say, rolling release distros. And I come across Tumbleweed, which we have tried out before. But I didn't realize Tumbleweed, when I was reading, they do testing before they update. So apparently it's a lot more stable than what possibly Arch Linux would be. So I've been testing that in the VirtualBox.
Uh-huh.
I was a bit confused about the repos, the what do you call it, when they say change vendor or something like that. Didn't know what that meant, didn't know whether you're meant to run that once, because apparently I watched a couple of videos. You can go into Yast and software management. You can click on community, I think it is, or whatever, and then you can just add the repos. But that's not showing up. None of the repos are showing up, and I believe there's probably a problem with that. So you have to add them within the terminal with the command, right? So I don't know what the deal is with that, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't checked that in a while. So they're different. There are there are a dozen ways to, okay, maybe not a dozen, but there are several ways to slice that turkey. So I do run some community repos, but I only install them as I need something from them. So one that is pretty important is the Pacman repository. Nothing to do with Arch Pacman, but it's the things that SUSE will not allow OpenSUSE to have for legal reasons. They just cannot do it. They want to distance themselves from that as much as possible, so there's no legal repercussions, to the corporation, which makes sense. I understand it. It does make things less convenient. I understand that, and so there's different ways to go about getting those codecs installed. one of the really cool things you can do is if you just want to install the codecs the simplest way possible, you first install this thing called OPI. So sudo zipper install OPI. Just install that.
OPI.
And then from there, you can just, that is like a, I don't know what the best way to describe it, but it's kind of like an agent that goes out and searches all the repos and finds what's available when you like search for something. So let's say I want to install the codecs. If I just say OPI codecs after that's installed, then it'll go and search out the repositories, and it prioritizes, I believe, Pacman for this. And then it pulls all the codecs you need from Pacman and installs them. And then bada bing, bada boom, you're done. That's it. And then if you want to let's say you want to install something that's maybe like a little bit, let's say you wanted to install the Vice emulator, the versatile Commodore emulator for Linux or on OpenSUSE. You just say OPI Vice, and then it'll give you a listing of all the different things that could be. You might see like some weird stuff in like device, whatever, lib device. But if you do Vice, then you go through and you pick whichever one you want, like 1 through whatever, 0 is to cancel, and then hit enter, and then it'll go through and it'll say adding this, then it'll give you an option of different repositories where it can come from. So you select whatever repository you want, and then from there you can then go and install, it'll set up the repository, install the software, and then after it's done, it'll ask you if you want to keep that repository. If you don't want to keep it because you just want to try the software, then once it isn't compatible, let the system get rid of it for you, then you can say no, and then you're done. But if you want to keep it, then you can always change it. You can add that repository later if it became necessary. And so that's one way to do it as well. You can actually add specific repositories as well. Oh, by the way, you can do OPI Zoom, and it will install Zoom for you. You don't have to download it. Just say
okay.
OPI Zoom. Yeah.
Right.
So it's really very convenient.
OPI is like a software management, like an AUR or something like that, or
it's not really like an AUR, but it's just an agent that goes through and searches the available repositories out there and pulls the software that you want. That's what it does. So it's super convenient, and it's been around a few years now, and I've only just started using it maybe the last couple of years, or maybe a year.
Right.
I don't know when I started using it, but recently.
You use straight out OpenSUSE, don't you? Not Tumbleweed. Right?
Well, I use Tumbleweed. Yeah, okay. Tumbleweed. Yeah, I use Tumbleweed, and
you use Tumbleweed as well.
Yes, this is a Tumbleweed system.
All right.
My systems I use, my main two systems are Tumbleweed.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought you used straight out OpenSUSE, but
yeah. Well, there isn't really straight OpenSUSE anymore. It's now Leap, which is the static release. Then you have MicroOS, which was like the immutable, kind of like Silverblue. And there's some others too. There's some other really cool things too. Like if you want basically just a really minimal thing, you can get, it's JEOS, Just Enough operating system. And so if you want to build something kind of the Archway, if you really feel inclined to do that, you can do that as well. That's more for like embedded. For me, it's like for small embedded type things or like specific appliance type operations. If I don't want to have anything extra in there, you can do that as well. You don't actually have to install YAST or any of those tools if you don't want to, but I like the terminal-based YAST tools. It's really easy to, like, if you log into a headless system, to manage it remotely with the YAST tools. So that's why I like it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's something to think about anyway. I've been also getting right into GIMP lately as well, because I've got like a plan of the house. I took a screenshot of that.
Nice.
Right. So I'm trying to set up where I want my PowerPoints and stuff like that, and LED lights and all that sort of stuff.
Ooh, now you speak my language.
So I had to take like little screenshots of all these legends, icons, and then put them in GIMP and make them transparent, and then I can just add them where I want to on the plan. So I'm all organized once I go to the pre-start, and we have to sort all that out with the builder. So that's been a lot of fun. That's quite interesting to do. So yeah, been doing all that sort of stuff too. So I've been Linuxing, but more so using Linux rather than making videos about Linux.
Right. So you've been using Linux like a normie, not like an enthusiast.
Yeah, that's the way. Yeah, just like a normal desktop operator.
Yeah. Asked in the chat by Heather Brown, she says, Nate, how many years have you been on that distro? I started using OpenSUSE originally, or I think it wasn't called. It was just OpenSUSE before Leap. 2006 the first time I actually installed it, but it became my primary in 2011. So it's been a while, and I just enjoy it. It fits like a glove, and then it just works well for me. So I understand it's not for everybody. People have different desires, different things that they want out of their systems, and this just works the best for me.
Yeah, well, I'm running Tumbleweed in the VirtualBox at the moment. Thought I'd just get to know how things work, so I might try some of your ideas in the VirtualBox and see how that works out. Yeah,
and you can always
go from there.
Yeah, you can always poke me in the general chat of the Telegram.
Sure.
And
no worries. We'll
just
do.
like ask questions, post things. Just make sure you ping me in it, because sometimes I'm not. Lately, I've not been at my computer a lot because of a lot of manual labor type activities I've been doing lately. So a little less computer time. I basically have a little over a week to get everything all buttoned up, like these major projects done. So.
Yep, the old manual labor. That's what I've been doing too. Manual labor, moving home.
Yes.
moving home twice. Had to do it twice.
Yeah, that sounds kind of painful. So now just a little bit of, if I may ask, and you can go ahead and shut this conversation down immediately, but how much did you eliminate for this move?
Oh, well, we did get rid of quite a few things. There was a couple of disappointing things that happened. We went to, I don't know what you call it over there, but we went to the tip, or the place where you chuck out junk and stuff. Mm-hmm. And these days they're pretty well organised. You can actually take your stuff there, and they'll probably, as part of the council that runs certain areas of your demographic, they probably resell it to less fortunate people who can't afford good stuff and all that. So I took these. I had my bench that I had everything on. I decided to throw that out. It's just too heavy, too bulky, too painful to deal with. So I used the big transit van from work and took all that to the tip. And here was me thinking that they were going to take it. It's all good stuff. They could sell it off. No, they chucked it straight in the back of a truck and just demolished the whole thing.
Oh man,
it was hard to watch.
Yeah, I imagine.
But I think at some certain points they get so much stuff that they probably just don't want to deal with it, and they just chuck it back in the back of the truck and crush it and done. Oh, sure. So that was a bit disappointing, but we have eliminated a lot of stuff, and we are moving from a big home to a smaller home eventually. So the home we're in now is roughly probably the same size, but not as many cupboards and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's a good chance to get to learn how to live a little bit on the smaller side than the bigger side. So that's where we're at the moment. We did miss out on my sister-in-law has she got a rental home she's going to let us rent in for a while.
Okay.
But the person who's there refused to move out. So that's why we got stuck without a home. Oh. So we had to move into her place, and then we had to try and apply for a rental property, which is an absolute crisis in the city of Perth right now. There is so many homes unavailable for people, so it's just a dog-eat-dog world right now. So we're fortunate we got a home.
Well, yeah, you are. And some areas are having like housing. There's a bit of a housing crisis in some areas. So
it's crazy, absolutely crazy. I think because people have had enough of homes being destroyed and all that as well, which is another thing. You don't get well supported by the government, I suppose, when it comes to, renting properties, because you're in the middle of everything. So I think there's a lot of people have just gone, and I think since COVID as well, that's probably, I think over here, you couldn't evict anybody from homes during COVID. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people just said, we don't want to rent a home anymore, and that's where the crisis started, I believe. Right. So that's happened.
Yeah, well, hopefully things normalize, like all these things. Like, I mean, obviously a lot of things that kind of upset the machine, as it were. The road the proverbial societal road we've been driving on got hit by a bunch of potholes. We may have like busted a tire or axle in the process, but hopefully we get things fixed and back on the road, and things go well. At least mostly, until we get to the next.
That's life, isn't it? Yeah, you got to go through the hard times to get to the good times. So it's life. It is frustrating, and I've probably used quite a few unnecessary words along the way, but
Sure.
that's the way. I was getting terribly frustrated at some point anyway, but making
sure.
a Linux video has been far from my mind recently. So, yeah.
Yeah, when I moved a couple of years ago, it was, at the tail end of the craziness, at least here, and I'm glad I moved when I did. The people who have my old house, I drive past my old house from time to time just because I was there for 15 years.
Right.
So they put a new roof on it. There was actually a thing that I left. It was a lantern that I had on my front porch. I was going to take it with me, and I'm like, I forgot to take it. And I left it like on the stairs,
right,
on the front.
Yeah.
It's still sitting in the same spot that I left it almost 2 years ago. I laugh every time I drive past to see. I'm just driving past.
Like it then.
I mean, it is a decorative. Like, it's like an old gas style lamp, but it's basically like a rusty old antique essentially. And I was going to do something with it, and then I thought, I have so many things I'm going to do something with that I'm just going to I just started forgetting much of stuff. But they put a new egress window in an area. They've been doing a lot of stuff to the house. So yeah, I think it's in good hands. Yeah, I'm happy with who bought it.
It's a funny thing, when you sell a house, you don't want to do too much. You want it to look nice for people to want to move in and buy it, but you don't want to do too much, like too much painting and all that, because they'll probably come in and change a lot of things. So it's one of those double-edged swords. You got to make sure you don't overspend or overcapitalize on what you're doing, because you just don't want to waste a lot of money on something that people probably change when they move in. So it's one of those fine lines you gotta walk in that situation.
I had a Ethernet and cable going a lot of places in the house that I run and everything else. And in fact, I have not run any cabling at my house. I'm all Wi-Fi in my new house. It's actually about the same age of house, but this place. And so I haven't run nearly as much Cat 5 here because I haven't really had to. And the new owner was very grateful that I had all that Cat 5 there, because it also kind of nerdy as well. And so they're grateful for all the Cat 5 runs. So, which thing that was good, I guess. But yeah.
Speaking of internet, that's what I want to do. A brand new home.
Yes.
I'm going to get a lot of data points put in everywhere I need to. So less Wi-Fi, hopefully. Wi-Fi will still be used for laptops and all that, but I want TVs and desktops and all that to be plugged into data, and it's going to be fiber rather than copper, because where I lived before was still on copper. The internet was quicker, but it was still copper run from one point to the home. So it's still old technology. Whereas this new place is because it's all brand new estates and everything. It's all fiber apparently, which I've been told. So it should be very fast. So that'll be a good thing.
That's awesome.
Download ISO. Done.
I will be very jealous.
I'm dreaming.
I ask for you to brag and tell me how long it takes so I can be jealous when this happens, because my internet is just barely able to do this stream. Like, sometimes it just can't. Like, it's not available. So I would like to live vicariously through you in your fancy down under where you have fiber.
Well, I'm still dreaming anyway. I'm hoping it works like that, but you never know. But the biggest positive out of this is where we're living is about 10 minutes drive away from where we're actually building. So that's one of the positives that came out of this. So,
excellent. Well, cool. So glad to have you back. I really missed you. I'm glad that no kangaroos did you in, and so it's good to have you back.
Thanks, Nate. It's good to be back.
Excellent. Eris, you did a couple of straw polls, and why don't you go ahead and take it away?
So these were kind of miscellaneous polls. I've been meaning to ask people what they thought about the new Telegram layout, and I never really asked what people thought about the replies to the polls. Whenever somebody replies to the poll. So the first one was, should poll replies continue to be anonymous? Because whenever I read them, I never say who it is, because I feel that it's part of the anonymity of the poll itself being anonymous. So I did that poll, and then the second poll is about the Telegram layout. That since we have a pretty big group in Telegram, we're able to have threads for the group. And we basically just have three sections. The general discussion and anything goes pretty much as far as the conversation. And then two different sections. One of them is the desktop screenshots. Anybody can share their screenshots of their computers. And that's similar to, we had a tradition of being Desktop Friday. So it's kind of like a continuation of that. And then we also have the other section for discussing this week's topic. So for the first poll, should poll replies continue to be anonymous? And then I said to read the details of the description. 50% said yes, continue saying the replies anonymously. 40% said indifferent about this. 5% no, give credit to each person that responds, state the name and platform. 5% said Tux Penguin. For the second poll, for the new layout of Telegram, 35% said the new layout is okay. 15% said the new layout is great. 15% said the new layout is bad. 15% said Tux Penguin. 10% said other. 5% said I am indifferent about this. And 5% said the new layout is horrible. So some of the replies that I got for polls are wall of shame, wall of shame, wall of shame, laughing, crying emoji. And I think they said that because they wanted me to call out anybody who replied, which is not really the intention of calling them out, just giving them credit for whoever actually replied. And then the same person said, I don't mind the new layout. It keeps things organized. My only minor complaint is that it seems to affect the unread count and notifications significantly, at least for me. I have to enter each sub channel manually before I can see any new messages or see even if there are any. Most of the time, occasionally, it works correctly.
I think that's an
And
interesting
another
one there.
person said,
The
yeah,
I haven't had that issue. Like I have the like I'll get the overall the number of notifications on the Linux Saloon like channel for the whole thing, and then I go through each of the threads individually, and each of them have it broken down when I click on it too. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I wonder why. I wonder if that's a Telegram issue or if that's a client issue.
I feel that the Telegram didn't implement this well because sometimes I don't even notice that there's new messages. Like I don't have the notifications for every new message on, but even so, I've gone inside the channel or like the group, red count or anything like that. So it doesn't really tell me when there's new messages, even if I haven't like read them. Like the unread number that it usually has. So I think it's just since not everybody has an ability to use this setting. I don't think it's been tested very well by Telegram, unfortunately.
And maybe it'll get worked out.
Hopefully. Another person said, "Wall of Shame sound fun." Eric's Tux, laugh out loud, but it may discourage the participation, which is yeah. Then another person said, "There's a new layout." I don't know. Perhaps I need to update my client. I'm using the one in the Ubuntu repos, which hasn't been updated in a while. And then another person said, I enjoy the penguin in the voting list. And then they put a penguin emoji.
I like it too.
Another person said, I think polls should still be in the general chat like before, and we see the results. The new Telegram layout is okay. It took me a while to get used to it. I like that there is a screenshot section and we can post stuff all the time. Another response I got was, I didn't like the layout at first. Now it is okay. I agree with others who don't like the message count issue. It is more of a notification that there are new messages, but not how many. They should have used another symbol to show new messages. And then another person said it should be private. And I clarified that I think they meant that anonymous, the replies, that the reply should be anonymous. And the final reply I got was in parentheses, Telegram layout, other. First time using it. Don't hate it. Don't love it. Seems like a pretty typical group chat layout.
Yeah. I think it's fine. Like, I mean, the problem with, I think, any groups is that as more people get in there, sometimes it's really hard to follow conversations, and I think having the 3 sections now, I think is good. If should Linux Saloon continue to grow and it becomes unwieldy, then maybe we can break things out a little bit more. But I think right now it's fine. It's not confusing to me. It seems like things are at a good pace between all the different threads as far as how fast they go. Steve,
Yeah, I like the screenshot one. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just say, Steve, welcome.
Howdy doody.
Okay, good. His volume's working. That's all I was checking for.
How you going, Steve?
Hey, Colin. I expect you to come back with like hair or something, just being different, and we like.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Or an all leather, like you joined some sort of a biker gang.
Tattooed all
I could have
over.
put a wig, maybe.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, I like the screenshot area. There's some really nice screenshots in there. I like. I seen one this morning. I really liked. It was quite nice. So, yeah, the screenshot one is quite good.
Yeah, I like it. It's fun to see how many people like decorate up their desktop. Way more than I do. I mean, like with the different nice backgrounds and everything else. I just keep the same background. I'm pretty dull.
I'm really annoyed with Bluetooth right now. I don't know if it's Arch Linux or whatever Bluetooth I'm using, but it's painful.
Is it?
I mean, I don't know if it's the GNOME desktop or what, but this notification, every time I put the Bluetooth on it, it tries to connect and it doesn't. The pop-up just keeps popping up constantly. It's really annoying. And I've tried to turn that off in the settings under apps, but still does. It still just keeps doing it. It's really. I've got to go to the settings to actually manually turn on Bluetooth every time. It's really annoying. So I'm hoping I can fix that somehow, but don't know how.
Windows.
We don't want another a different can of worms there.
That's all about Steve. He, I appreciate that Steve can come here and troll all of us.
Payback's a B, baby.
I never troll you, Steve.
Not much.
I was going to ask, Mark, what are your thoughts on the Telegram layout? Does it even like
Well, I mean, I like the fact that we only did. Are we talking about Telegram or the Linux Saloon setup?
The Linux Saloon Telegram group. So you have the general screenshots, and then the.
And I like having just 3 channels there. Mm-hmm. If we had a bunch more, it would get confusing. As it is, I see, I'm not quite sure that everyone's adhering to the channel, the channel scope. But again, I think it's fine. I'm glad it's not too many more. I like that we just went with 3. So I'm good. I'm not a big Telegram user. Also, Slack and Discord, they all kind of they're too busy for me. So
yeah, I think those titles are just a guideline. There's nothing, whatever you want to discuss wherever. It's just kind of like an idea. This is general chat. This is topics chat, and then everything can snowball from there. I would never like if I were to give any guidance to a moderator, I would never slap down any conversation, because it probably started from a screenshot and then morphed into something else, or started from a show topic and morphed into something else. So I would never want to limit that sort of conversation. I think that's just not the Linux Saloon way.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of forums when they go, "This doesn't belong in this section. Move in
Right.
this section to this other
Exactly,
section."
and
Yeah.
that bothers me, right?
Like,
That bothers me too. So
yeah, just keep it on the fun level. I think it's good.
yeah.
Well, cool. Did anybody else have anything they want to say about the Telegram chat or chats in general?
Well, I was going to say, some people have mentioned that in some, I don't know, with other chat applications, but I think the biggest grief or thing that people complain about with Telegram is like a conversation can be interrupted at any time. That what do they call them, threads or something? So
Yeah,
some applications have threads where the conversation continues and then it's not interrupted, whereas Telegram doesn't work that way. Because it's funny, you could be reading things and then somebody makes this totally off topic comment because they're not actually following that conversation that's happening. It's quite bizarre in some ways, but it's just the way Telegram works, I suppose. I think everyone is, to be honest, but because they might be talking to somebody else, but the best thing to do is reply to their conversation, I suppose, rather than just put a comment in there, isn't it? But it's just a weird way that it works, but it is Telegram, I suppose, and that's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a room, You always have like the guy that comes back from the bathroom and continues the conversation from where he was, at a table. Like, it's kind of like that.
That's my son.
Yeah.
Talking to him about something 3 days ago, and then all of a sudden today he'll go, "So as I was saying."
So I read a message in a different group. Somebody said that this is not an issue for them in other languages. That they don't understand why in English groups people don't reply to each other constantly. Like if they're talking about a topic, everybody should be replying to each other, and then that way there's a setting in Telegram where you can right click and look at the replies, and you just see the replies themselves. You don't see anything else. And they specifically said if everybody did that, you can easily follow a conversation. And then they said, why is it that in English groups people don't reply to each other sometimes, even though they are replying to the same conversation? They don't actually go hit reply and then input the reply. And I said, I thought it was
together, sort of, like when you hit reply instead of just replying.
Yeah, and I said I think it's because sometimes we assume that if we're replying to the same message, we don't need to hit reply because we're the next message, so we're automatically replying. But I think that person did have a point that if everybody would just reply to each other, everything would be much more simple that way, following the conversation.
So what you're saying is you reply once and then that conversation continues, or you have to keep replying?
And then whoever wants to continue that conversation replies to the last message. And then you can just hit right click, view replies, and you can see the whole thread of that, just like that one conversation.
Right.
Which could be 5 days old, 10 days old. But unfortunately, I mean, that does require that everybody has to reply, otherwise it doesn't work. Yeah,
I don't know. I've not seen that show all replies, but I'm going to play with that next time, and I'm going to try and do replies a little bit more, just to make the non-English speakers a little bit happier. But I try to do reply like when it seems like it makes sense, if like I'm replying to different things. But not that I'm great at it. Well, very cool. Now I will say the Telegram Linux Saloon chat did create a topic for the last Linux Out Loud that we recorded, and it was about Linux OEMs and our thoughts around that. So there was actually some good conversation that was happening in the Linux Saloon Telegram. So if you're not a part of that, check it out. That's the t.me/Linux Saloon. You can join the conversation in Telegram. It's good times. Like, I'd love to see Anna in there. Anna Rita. I think she'd be great to poke at in the Telegram. Unless she's there and by a different name and confusing us all. I don't know.
That'd be Anna Rita, yeah.
Yeah, it would be. But I would at least recognize her style of writing because I've read it enough. I would know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, all right. We're going to move on to the application appetizer. Having a potluck again this week. We had a few that we selected, and I see that you're here, Steve. So I want to hear a little bit more about your application that you suggested. I will say,
the tagger.
Yes, I did install it, and that's as far as I got. So
it's your typical GNOME application. I mean, say a lot about GNOME. There are a lot of great applications out of GNOME that fit right into the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple. It worked real easy when I was in the Windows, and I would rip all my CDs, and because I didn't trust like the Windows Media Player. I liked Windows Media Player for organization, but I didn't particularly always like the tagging in that. So in Windows, I was using I think it was called MP3 Tag, and once I got be able to add album art to multiple files, songs, change things. I always change like the file name to that of the tag. So the tag is usually going to be the name of the artist, the
Mm-hmm.
song, and I'll usually change the tag to that, the file name to that. And it seemed pretty simple. Like I've been doing a lot of that, Scott Buckley music, and he lets you download all his stuff for free, but it doesn't come with any album art. So I would have to go, like each song I download, he does have something on his website for each song, and I would just take a screenshot of the album cover and save that and add it to the tag. And what I'm finding though is I don't know if it's how some of the music players are made. Like VLC will see all the album art, but like Lollipop, which is a GNOME application, doesn't see all the album art that I did with Tagger. And just to make sure that it was right and it was embedded right, I downloaded. I think it's called Easy Tag. It's in most repos. It hasn't been updated in 16 years, but it's just a little bit more than what Tagger is, but it's all the album art in there. So I don't know what's up with Lollipop and why it's not seeing that particular, VLC sees all the album art in that. So it does work. And it's just a very simple, if you got an album and, you just highlight the, say, 10 songs for that album, and then you could change the name of the album or, add the artist, and it will add it to all those tags, and it won't change the name and the file and all that, the other tags to it. It just adds to it. And just a simple, easy to use tagger. I mean, it doesn't reach out to other services. I don't to find the album art. You just gotta, have it saved, and then it embeds it into the MP3 or whatever tag. It reads OGG and Wave and a couple others that you can tag with it. But I just, I was looking for something to. It's been a while since I've really cleaned up my all the songs that I have from my CD ripping and that. I made the mistake one time of using Picard, Music Brain's Picard, and it got 85% of the albums right, and it totally messed up the remaining 15 to 20%. Because if you don't have the right
awesome.
length of the song and things like that. Yeah, it was, and I've been spending. I have spent a lot of time fixing that. So as powerful as Music Brain's Picard can be, it is. It could be very troublesome,
Yeah.
And that. So a simple tagger, like the MP, the tagger, is just perfect.
There was a point in time when I went through and I made sure all of my music was properly like identified and everything else. And so I'd push up to my iPod from, I think it was from Amarok and Linux, and everything worked great. And then I had this issue where I'm not exactly sure what happened, but all the tagging that was I used my iPod as basically like a backup. I don't back up my music on my other drives because I didn't have a lot of other drives at the time. So I used my iPod. But then when it went, and then something happened to that drive, and I backed everything else up no problem, but not the music because I had it all on the iPod. So like 160 gigabyte iPod or whatever. So one of the iPod Classic essentially. But it couldn't pull all the music back, and then when it did, all the tags were messed up, and I've never actually fixed them since. And that's been like 12 years, and I really haven't gotten around to fixing it all. But like I used to have everything like all nicely labeled and album art and everything else.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, I spent hours doing that. And because I used to like Windows Media Player because it would like for an artist, and you like I had a bunch of 6 albums that I actually had recorded and things like that, and it shows it, it like fans it around like taking a deck of cards, right?
Yep.
And then you click inside, and I would have it all. I'd have a folder for everything, and now it's pretty, because of the way tags work. It took me a while. It's like using workspaces, right?
Right.
Sometimes you can't. Some people just use them like they're nothing, but then just have them all tagged right, and you can have all the songs in one folder and not have them organized, but the music players and things like that will organize them for you.
Yeah.
So this is a GNOME application called Tagger. I can't find it anywhere. It's not a flat. It's not just Flatpak, is it?
Yeah.
There's a link in the chat.
Oh, okay, that's all right. I was going to say I can't find it anywhere in there. That makes sense. Sure.
But it's nice and simple, and you can, it has, from changing the file name and the name and artist, and if it's multiple artists, and what album and what year and what genre and so forth, and even like putting in a URL where maybe that artist resides, and all that.
That's cool. That's really cool. I have been tagging also using Amarok. It kind of feels like somewhat of a I don't want to say a dead project, but it's not really getting any updates anymore like it used to. But it
like Clementine. I really like Clementine. It's so old, and I mean it hasn't been updated I think since 2016. And even if you get Strawberry, it's just like 2018 or something like that. But it actually has I know most of them have Clementine has a real good tagging system too, and you can go out and search for album art too.
Yeah, it's good stuff right there. But yeah, I think it's important to tag stuff. I do update some tags, like I was looking for a piece of music, and then what the tags weren't correct, so I did correct it. I like a little bit at a time. Probably by the time I'm dead, I'll have it all cleaned up again. So it'll just take a while. I don't have the same amount of hours and hours of free time like I did, 12 years ago. I'm always doing something. That's the way it goes. Does anybody here tag their music or their movies or whatever a lot, Colin? What have you used for that?
Easy Tag, pretty much. I think Easy Tag is the most popular one, I would have thought. But I think it changed. There was a couple of let me see what I've got. Yeah, I've got Easy Tag installed right now. So I think I've always used that. And I used to use that in conjunction with MP3 Gain, but that changed a couple of times, and I stopped using that. It didn't seem to work as good as it used to when it first came out, but that's good for normalizing all your music. So I did do it, I think, on a folder on my phone, but I don't know if it actually worked because the volumes were still different. So I think it has to be done on the computer. I think, I'm not sure.
I forget how it does. Joe Collins is I remember he did a couple of videos on MP3 Gain, and he's one that just puts everything in a folder, and he doesn't tag a lot of stuff. He just has the name of the song and the year I think that it was made, and that's how he does his. But he uses MP3 Gain, but he does it to the whole folder. So I'm not, again, I'm not sure, like if you transfer it over to your phone and then play it in your car, because I over the years I've recorded, I didn't think that if you ripped a CD, it would be all at the same volume, to find out that it wasn't. Now I don't know.
it's strange, isn't it? It must be, I don't know, different eras of CDs or just the way different people do it or how they record it. It is a bit strange, but yeah, MP3 game. I think I did it to a folder on the phone, but maybe it doesn't work on the phone. Maybe it's got to be connected local on the computer. I don't know, but it definitely didn't work. So maybe if I did it on the computer and then moved them over, it might actually be okay. I'm not sure, but there used to be a setting on phones that you could normalize. I can't find that on my phone.
There's a term for the difference in volume between like decades, and it's called the loudness war.
Is that right? The loudness war.
People call it the loudness war because basically every single decade you're trying to make the volume louder and louder and louder. And
right,
that's awesome.
Audiophiles talk about how there's so much like amplification of the sound. There's actual clipping in some recordings now because they try to push it as loud as possible. Because if they found out that the louder something is, the more attractive it is to like everyday people or whatever.
It's very true. He is 100% on that.
Well, I think. Sorry, people who do advertisements, they have no problems with volume.
So I worked in radio at one time, and I can actually explain that. When they take spots and they rip them into the system or whatever, I don't know what the term is, but when they pull them into the digital audio system, they go do this process where they basically they normalize the volume to a limit, and that it's just so it's all under, you can hear it all. When they play music, because music's a lot more dynamic, they normalize it to the max. They don't adjust the volume, so it's adjusted based on the max of like how the song gets in its climactic period. So it'll be softer because of music dynamics, while a commercial is all pretty much the same for the most part, dynamic throughout the entire thing. So it sounds louder, but they can't raise the volume necessarily of the music because then it would cause it to clip at certain points, like it was stated. Also, there was a time when I was DJing at night, and I like mostly just like the factories and such would have this rock station on, and so what I would do is I would slowly, like over a period of time, like lower the volume of the station, and so I know that people are turning up the volume in their cars or in the wherever, and then I'd put it back where it is immediately.
Make them all think their equipment's wrong, like their equipment's messed up.
Yeah. I hope that nobody from that station will ever listen to this, so it doesn't really matter. The family of stations. But anyway, in fact, there's Adam, you live in Madison, right?
Correct, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the other clusters of stations family is in Madison. So
I'll let them know.
Yeah, JJO is a station out there, a rock station. At least it used to be.
I'm not sure if it still is or not. I
used to
don't
be a
really
big
listen
rock
to
station.
Radio, so.
Well, some of us
gotta listen to Will Rock out of Kenosha, I think it is. It's.
I don't know that one. Well, sweet. Tagging. It's good stuff.
I always did whenever I would rip CDs, I would use a tool called ABCDE, and it had the tagging stuff built into it.
Okay.
So I always just did that.
I can't remember what I used to use for ripping CDs. I think it's not. I haven't ripped any CDs in a while. I haven't bought any CDs in a little while, actually. It would go and fetch the information about the CD as you ripped it, and so it had all the tagging done for you. And so.
Yeah, most of my stuff was ripped into my Windows days, and I've still got it. I mean,
you got them WMA files?
I did. I started converting a lot of it. I didn't probably really need to, but just to keep things kind of the same.
Because
Sound Juicer used to be my main go-to quite a few years ago. Sound Juicer, that was quite a good one. Nowadays I use Asunder. Asunder I find quite good to use.
Asunder is pretty good, yeah. I was ripping them over the network, like on a server. So I was just SSHing in and doing ABCDE. That actually worked best for me. But yeah, if I were to use like a GUI one, Asunder is a pretty good one. But as far as like storage is so much cheaper these days that like I just rip everything in FLAC because they're big files, but they sound great, and I don't have to worry about the compression and all that those issues that come with. Because like man, I listen to Spotify, that's my like music service, and it's sort of like it has everything, but it ain't great quality. But like it has all the music I like, and it also works on pretty much every device you're gonna want, like when it comes to speakers or consoles or players or whatever, right? But like man, the difference between like a Spotify compressed stream and like a straight up FLAC or just straight from the CD is such a huge difference that it's like kind of gross sometimes when I listen to it. I'm like, this is kind of flat.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of that like stuff you're talking about with MP3 gain and stuff. Like they do a lot of that they kill like the dynamic range of the music, and I hate audio normalization so much. It just ruins the music to me. I can't stand it. Like when I listen to like radio stuff or any of that, it's just like no, like some stuff are supposed to be loud, some stuff's supposed to be quiet. Like cut it out. Like
yeah.
So like I mean to each their own, but that drives me nuts.
I still listen to terrestrial radio a lot, actually. Like in the car or whatever. If I don't have the kids in there, it's the same DVD they watch over and over again in the minivan. So when there are no kids in there, I'm listening to music, and maybe that makes me an old man, but I like terrestrial radio actually.
What do you mean by terrestrial?
Oh, just from
like AM FM.
Yeah,
stuff?
AM FM radio. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't do satellite radio. I prefer the terrestrial. Because I get like local news breaks and I weather breaks and stuff like that, and it's a good information, keep me connected.
That's assuming your like local stations don't suck. The stations in Atlanta generally sucked, so I didn't listen to it there. Like there's really not a good one there. It's terrible. There used to be 99X. That was amazing. I love that station. RIP 99X, but yeah, it's gone now.
Yeah, Chicago used to have a lot of good. I mean, my favorite in Chicago is WXRT, because they play a good eclectic music, and they go back. They've been going on for years, but all the other radio stations have changed so much.
I just don't understand why Atlanta needs 4 R&B stations. Just saying.
I mean, for a 15 to 20 minute drive, you sometimes listen to the radio. You're lucky if you hear one song.
Yeah,
it feels like that.
Q101 in Chicago is one of those that I listen to because it comes over here on the side of the lake. Also, WLS. I listen to WLS. My favorite way to listen to or to consume baseball broadcasts is AM radio. I like the pops and the cracks and the hisses. Like there's something like warm about it. I don't know what it is, but I really like.
I know exactly what you mean because I'm a bit older than you, but the era, when I used to listen to it on an AM radio, and it was like being at the ballpark. Things weren't cleaned up.
Yeah, yep, it was rough, and whatever. You could hear the cracking of the bat in the AM radio, and then as you go underneath the bridge, it all if you're driving, it goes, it's out on you. It's great. It's good stuff right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve would tune in after the Papio Daniel Flower Hour.
Well, back in the day when you were able to tune your radio, I would sit and like real late at night in the car, and I would like one night I remember getting the Pittsburgh Penguins hockey game on the radio. AM would do that, and that would be fun listening. But you can just chill just a little bit.
As far as terrestrial radio goes, I know this is kind of getting off topic, but
as
far as terrestrial radio goes, my favorite thing was to stay up and listen to Loveline with Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew.
Oh, that's funny.
That was so good. As like a teenager listening to that, it was like, here's the knowledge no one else wants me to have, and I love this.
That's funny. There's ever hear Delilah? Delilah. It's a national broadcast, whatever. There's a station in South Bend, Indiana, that has her at night, and I love her Christmas time stuff that she does. It's like all like, warm, fuzzy, good stuff, and it kind of makes me just feel better, and that's why I like that. So I think finding like good radio hosts that actually engage you, I think that's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, here's the way to kind of circle it back to like what we're talking about with
But tagging,
recording
yes.
MP3 tagging, commercial radio was kind of rough, but like the Loop out of Chicago, WLUP, they used to play album at midnight, and they would play the whole album through, and then a break, when they flip the album over, and the rest just pop a cassette tape and a recorder. And I had a bunch of cassette tapes recorded like that.
Nice. We didn't have to worry about tagging those though. We just wrote on the cassette what it was. Your mixtape for the love of your life. Probably did a few of those, right?
No.
So the application I used to rip was Audex, AUDEX, and I think it's still in the thing. Yep, still is. Although it's moved to experimental packages as opposed to being mainline. Well, there you go.
Audex, never heard of that one before. Audex.
Yeah. It's still using KDE4 as the toolkit. So I may have to find a different one.
Right.
I don't know if did anyone else have any applications they want to share, like Ulfnic or Mark? Go ahead, Ulfnic.
Oh, I was gonna say you guys have priority.
Nope.
I'm the new guy here.
No, the new guys have priority. It's not that's how it works. It's kind of a kingdom
You
upside
just start
down
talking.
Yeah. Yeah, this is pretty short, but basically I wanted to highlight Tesseract, which is a command line tool that does optical character recognition, or OCR, which extracts text from digital images. I'd encourage everybody to check on the man page if they're interested. Basically, you just type Tesseract into the CLI and the path of the image containing text, and it'll output that text. But onto the fun part, you can use a tool to select a part of your screen that has text in it, then pipe that image into Tesseract, and then pipe Tesseract into a tool that manages your clipboard. So what I have on a shortcut keybind is it runs main. I'll paste the code into chat if you're using Wayland or X11, because you'd be using different applications. But basically, I'll hit this keybind. I will be prompted to select an area of my screen. Once I do that, everything else happens in the background. It will take that part of my screen containing text, send it to Tesseract. Tesseract will pull the text out of that image. Then it will put the text in my clipboard.
Wow.
And where it's being, first of all, it's like weirdly supremely accurate. I'm really impressed by its accuracy, but the place I use the most in is for YouTube, because YouTubers will just be writing code on the screen, or you'll see they'll put something into a browser, like an address, and you want to go to that address, and it's not in the description. So I can hit this keybind and just select the the little part in the browser on their screen, where the address is, and then suddenly it's in my clipboard, and I can just go to that website. So it's made my life supremely easy. But anyway, yeah, I'll post the code so you guys can run it if you want to, and that's Tesseract.
Well, that's really cool. I don't know like which modules. There's like there's a lot of modules to it. I just did a quick search. Yeah, I'll have to look into this. This is really cool.
Yeah, sudo apt install Tesseract. But to do what I described, you're gonna need. Let me see if I have the. Yeah, you're gonna need, for X11, you'll need MAME for the screen grab, and you'll need XClip or XL, one or the other, for putting it in your clipboard. For Wayland, you need Grim. That's for WL roots. I haven't tried out the Wayland or X-Wayland versions of KDE or Gnome yet, so I'm not sure if they have some different screen grab utility you're supposed to use. And WL clipboard is what you'd use for WL roots for doing clipboard management. So if you're using WL roots, a WL roots based distro, this will work for you, but if not, you're kind of on your own, I'm afraid.
So I did OPI Tesseract, Colin. So if you want to try that in your OpenSUSE, that I got a lot of stuff there, but I didn't see the. If you can point me to like a link about the X11 at least, or Wayland, whatever it is that you're using, put it in the chat or whatnot. That'd be pretty cool. Because I do want to follow up on that because I think that'd be super valuable. There's so many times in like watching YouTube video, they'll give you like a link to somewhere, but they don't put it. They say they'll put it in the show notes or put it in the description, but it's not there. And so that would be really awesome. And I would like to. I'd like to check that out.
I'm very slowly posting each line one at a time into YouTube.
Right. I'm going to put
yeah,
this...
so in YouTube chat it's there, and I'll also put it in the Telegram channel,
right.
so you'll have it there too. All
right, and then also if you'd like to, in the show notes itself, in the Zoom chat, I put a link to the show notes. So if you click on that, you can actually put it right in there. I did put, I think I put it in there. I put a section for Tesseract. So we put anything in there. Then when I edit the show down, I can put it in the description. Yeah. So awesome. That's very cool. Mark, you are going to give an application.
I was going to go through a couple.
Excellent.
And I'll make it quick. So the first one, kind of along the lines of the tagging conversation. I was looking at exiftool this week, and that the exif again is I probably get this wrong, but it's the meta information that you have on your photos and such, such as date and time, the f-stop of the camera, that type, all those types of things. Well, one of the things that exiftool can do is you can add copyright notices, and you can put from the command line, you could say, okay, add copyright, the year and your name and all rights reserved for you. And you run that at the command line, and then that would add your copyright to all your photos. And so that may be of interest to some people. I was just researching that this week and looking at it. You can also, if you're going to share photos or give photos out freely, you can also remove the exif info. So, such as you take a picture of some flowers or something in my front yard, I don't want people to know where I live.
Right.
The GPS data is in there. So you can run exiftool and say, get rid of that metadata.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
It's like a metadata tool for making sure you're not putting information out there that you shouldn't.
Exactly. Yep.
That's
so
really
yeah, that's
cool.
just something I thought I'd mention.
Do you have a link to that? Is it or how you installed it? There's a spot in the show notes if you'd like to put any information in there, and then I'll make sure it's in the description. All these links will be available.
Yeah, exiftool I believe is in all the repositories, but it looks like it's just exiftool.org, and I will. That's kind of the main link. I'll put it in the Zoom chat and the YouTube chat.
All right, excellent.
All right,
fantastic. That's it. Yeah, that's a neat
tool. You can edit your photos. Most of the file browsers allow you to right-click, do properties on an image, on a photo, and you could do stuff one thing at a time. But this would allow you to, put proper copyrights on photos that you want copyright, written, and again, make sure you follow the guidelines that you properly copyright something with a date, right? If you don't have a date, it's not it's not copywritten. And then again, removing those GPS things, GPS coordinates, I think is important. If your camera happens to automatically add those things.
Oh, well, it actually shows like exposure time, exposure bias, ISO speed rating. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of information in there.
There can be a lot of information. Yeah.
That's nuts.
Just a lot of it depends upon your camera, the camera that you're using. Most smartphones do add a lot of meta information there. So, yeah. And it's good, and it's, there's different reasons to keep that information and to not keep it, right? I like having GPS coordinates on photos because at some point you could actually say, okay, where did I take that photo? And, maybe you're at some national park and you want to know exactly where that was.
Yeah, when you like share it out, that's when you usually want to nuke that stuff, right?
Right.
Exactly.
A lot of times when I send an image, I open up the image because I'm in tinfoil. Not always, little tinfoil hatty. I take a screen grab of the image, so it's a lower quality image anyway, because I'm just sending it like in a chat or whatever.
Right.
And that takes away a lot of the stuff, I guess.
Exactly. Yep. All right. So that was one of them.
Yep, that's a neat tool.
For this application appetizer, I actually went out and installed. I went out and got installed Notepad Next. It was listed on FlatHub as one of the recently updated apps, and I'll put that in the chat here. And I'm a fan of Notepad++ in my day job and I'm using Windows. And this Notepad Next is just a simple, GUI editor. What I typically need an editor like this for is for really large log files that I need an editor that properly paginates in the memory and enough lines, and then allows me to do stuff that I want to do. Also, I do like the code syntax highlighting.
Mm-hmm.
I could do some of this stuff in Linux, but I'm not always on a Linux box. So, I'm sorry, I could do this at the command line. I'm not always at the command line. And certainly when I am, I would use VI or VI or less. But this is more of a GUI notepad for text files. Okay. Notepad Next, I don't want to poo-poo it, because that's just wrong, right? The guy's doing great stuff, and in fact, Nate is going to like his. If you do help about, it says this program does stuff. I'm not sure that's your exact tagline, but you use that a lot.
I do things.
Yeah,
I do things.
Well, this program does stuff.
I like that.
There are some features that I'm hoping that this application will get in the future. One of the things I like about Notepad++ is you can sort lines and remove blank lines and such. This does have some line operators, but it doesn't have those. So I'm hoping I'm going to watch this app and see if they get that in the future. It certainly does have some different syntax highlighters. Then one of the things that I also want I was hoping it would have was the ability to either search or replace with regex type operators, and it does have that. Notepad Next that made me happy.
That's cool. So what was the impetus for trying this? You said you wanted something like Notepad++, but that was cross-platform, or was the
exactly? Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and he says that it's a cross-platform re-implementation of Notepad++ is what the FlatHub says. Okay. So, yeah. So it sounds like he's giving credit to the application that's got a little bit more. But yeah, I'd love to be able to use something cross-platform like this.
Yeah, that's great.
So Notepad++ is just a Windows application, is it?
It's Linux too.
Oh, it's Linux as well, is it? Oh,
is
okay.
it? Wait, is Notepad++ Linux?
I don't think so.
Oh, oops, I'm wrong. I take back everything I said.
That sort of makes sense as to why he's done that. So it is a cross-platform, and it comes across to Linux on FlatHub.
Yeah.
That's probably why. Yeah. All right.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
That's good to know. There are a couple of text editors I like to keep locally. and I don't mind having a few extras just in case. Sometimes you just need another text editor. I use Kate quite a bit, and then also Kwrite, but they seem like they're pretty much similar. But I'm going to install this one too, just to have it. It's not like it takes up a lot of space.
Yeah.
I will say when I moved to Linux initially, it broke my heart that I couldn't easily bring Notepad++ with me. That absolutely killed me. That was quite some time ago. Since then, I've been, moving through various different ones. At the moment, I use Micro, which is we discussed a few episodes ago. But yeah, Notepad++ is just it's a work of art from my Windows days. I do remember.
You can still get Notepad++ on Snap. There's a Snap for that. Yeah, I post the link on YouTube chat.
Oh, really? Well, maybe that's what I need.
That's good to know.
It uses Wine through Snap, and that's how it does
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I haven't used Notepad++ in ages.
What do you use as a text editor?
NeoVIM. Silence.
I haven't used it.
It's just like everybody's just like, I don't know what that is. That's all good, man. Just let this
I know.
dude
I
talk.
was just thinking.
I didn't want to
think-
be mean.
I think we were all shocked you didn't say Emacs. So
I think that was actually it.
No,
I was speechless. You didn't give me enough time to process it through.
I have opinions on Emacs, but I don't think it's safe to say those online. So
Yeah. I want to stay fair.
I was just thinking, is that another one of those ones?
wars?
Is that just another one of those ones that you don't know how to exit?
no, I already have enough like carpal tunnel problems. I really shouldn't use Emacs. No, but I use NeoVIM. I used VS Code for a while, but I've pretty much switched to NeoVIM both at work and at home.
Here's the question. I used Vim for a very long time. I really tried to move to it and make it my main. Didn't ultimately work out, but I was wondering why people use NeoVim. For me, in my experience, it seemed to be just exactly the same as Vim. I know there's improvements and all this stuff, but it appears to be all improvements to things that doesn't affect me in like any way. So
That's quite
does it actually affect you?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff that I use, so NeoVim has a lot of plugins for that are built in Lua and other there are other languages that allow a lot of the original Vim plugins were all written for Vim, right? But these can all be written in various languages and stuff. Lua seems to be the popular one. Yeah, so there's a lot more. I feel like there's a lot more integrations that are capable in NeoVim because of its more compatible language support. But yeah, that's largely the main thing. Good. So yeah, if you just want Vim, it's just Vim, it's fine. But if you don't really want all the extra stuff, and yeah, I have a bunch of plugins. My init.lua is pretty extensive, so.
Yeah, I do remember that configuration and plugins do start getting pretty extensive the more you use Vim.
But it's so great once you get it all set up. It's just magical. And there are other support, like for example, GitHub Copilot is actually officially supported in NeoVim, so that's kind of nice.
Oh wow, nice.
Do you see something like NeoVim replacing Vim outright?
No.
And then I have one last app, and
yes,
and I've mentioned this probably on our last appetizer. I love KeypassXC. It is cross-platform. I use it every day on all my computers. Again, it's just got to call that one out. I love it.
So do I.
Yeah, I think it was Colin who even said. I think it was Colin who was singing the praises of it too, if I remember correctly, and I could be remembering incorrectly. So there's that.
I think I did mention it on one of the appetizers. I think it's the same with Joplin. Joplin was another one that I use. I'll just mention that again. I won't go into detail, but that's another one that I use quite often, which is can sync to the cloud, so you can go from desktop to phone. So when you're out, so for me at the moment with the house build, I'll bring it back to that, and I'm taking down notes at the house build. It'll sync, and then I got those notes on desktop when I get home. So that's handy. I really find that really handy indeed. So it's got the markdown and all that.
And I use it so much. Again, it's open, and I use it as a launch pad. because anything I need to authenticate to, I need my KeyPass. And so I mean, it's open and ready and running all day long on all my computers. And I mean, it's got to be by far, used maybe even as much as my browser. Right.
I understand.
What I like about it, Mark, what I like about it is when everybody was talking about these password managers, the fact that they were implementing these long, drawn-out passwords and all that. I like the fact that you've got one password to open KeyPass. That's all you got to remember, and you can use your own passwords. And then if you forget them, you can show password and remember what it is. And if you're logging in somewhere else, you can still, if you got it on your phone, which I use KeyPass. Do you use KeyPass on the phone, Mark?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, on Android or iPhone?
On both.
On both, okay. And that comes in handy because if I've got something that I've got to log into somewhere else, not on the phone, but on somewhere else, I can actually look at my password on that as well. So that's really handy. I really like that feature as well. So yeah, I find it. And you can just double click the KeyPass on Windows has got an actual little icon on top. You click that, it'll go to the website. Whereas the one in Linux doesn't have that. You've got to double click the there's
not a KeypassXC for the iPhone, so I use a KeyPass compatible app that I purchased, and it works great. I wish KeypassXC, that's the only platform it doesn't run on.
I got a question for you, Colin. This is my big hang up with KeyPass.
Right.
How do you sync your data?
It's on Hotmail. It's on Hotmail, which is what is it?
From a OneDrive?
OneDrive, probably. Yeah, I think it's OneDrive. Yeah. So sorry, KeyPass? No,
Yeah.
no, I don't. No, sorry, I'm thinking of Joplin. KeyPass,
No.
I don't sync KeyPass. I just pass the. I do it the difficult way, I suppose. But what I do is I pass the file onto the phone, and then I update my phone and update my computer separately. So some things I use on the phone, and some things I don't. But I don't know. I don't know about synchronization, whether I should keep that online. It just bothers me to keep it somewhere online. So I don't know if it's worthwhile. I don't know how good the encryption is for people to hack that file, but there's a lot of.
Could you use like Syncthing to synchronize it so it's not on a server anywhere, where it synchronizes between the different systems? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Syncthing.
Syncthing on phones?
Yeah, I use Syncthing on my phone. That's how I back up my pictures. I don't use the Googles for that.
So that actually, so Syncthing will actually copy the file, but only update the changes between the two. Is that how that works, or?
It's bi-directional. So if you update it on, I use my note-taking application of choice is called TiddlyWiki, and I use it primarily on my desktops. But sometimes I want to review the information on my phone, and so I have that synchronizing, and I can actually check it on my phone, or I can even edit it on the phone as well, and it'll sync back to my desktops. But it's not on a server anywhere. I mean, it's on my server, but it's not being served from the server. It's just another node on the Syncthing net of sorts, and that's all directly. So if the internet goes down, they can synchronize directly. But if you're outside of the network, they will relay and find each other and synchronize themselves as well. So it works pretty well. I use Syncthing for a lot, like a lot. So I could have any one of my computers go poof, and then I wouldn't lose any data. Because Adam says, he told me last week or 2 weeks ago? I don't know when he told me this, but he said that basically you only self-host the data you don't care about, or something like that. Anyway,
that's close enough.
Yeah, so I synchronize everything. I mean, I would have to have a catastrophic event to lose all my data, essentially.
1 backup is 0, 2 is 1.
I have 1, 2, 3, 5. I have 5 active backups right now.
Wow.
I want to add a sixth, and I have the machine for it. I just have to take the time. I don't know if it has the storage though. I'll find out. And then I do offline backups as well. But we're not talking about backups. We're talking about KeypassXC and synchronizing it.
Yeah, well, KeyPass, I just do it the hard way. Whatever I do on the phone, I try to remember to do on the desktop as well, and vice versa. But sometimes it doesn't work out. You're looking for it on one of them, and you go, "Oh, damn, I didn't put it in." But the only way I get caught out there is if I'm looking for it on the phone and I'm away from home, then I'll get caught out. If it's not on the computer, then it doesn't matter, because I'll just put it on there while I'm at home. But it'd be nice to be able Syncthing. I don't know. I've heard of that, but I've never used it. I don't know how it works. I have to look into it.
It's super simple. Actually, I have on cubiclenate.com, you can do a search for Syncthing, and I have an article on setting up OpenSUSE even. It's been pretty much since I started using that. I haven't really used Nextcloud, because I was using Nextcloud as a file backup, and then I went through a bunch of computers and anyway, but I would say it works 98% of the time. Every once in a while, I've had issues where things would be out of sync and wouldn't synchronize, but that is actually how I found out that I had bad RAM on my laptop, was because Syncthing was screaming about file inconsistencies, and then that's how I figured out that I had a problem with my RAM, was because I was having these errors because it wouldn't synchronize the weird files on my laptop, and I didn't understand. I didn't know why there was weird files on the laptop. Anyway, so it was all from bad RAM and whatnot. So that was the last problem I had, but it wasn't a Syncthing problem. It was my computer was breaking down problem.
Right. Well, I've got you on bookmark, so I'll look you up.
Oh, look at that. Harris put it in the chat. Hot dog. Did anybody else have any applications that they wanted to share? Oh, Jinda, you're still not. I still can't hear you.
No, Jinda's still got sound. What's going on, Jinda?
So I wanted to share one that I use a lot more often than I think I probably should. So because I do content creation and I edit a lot of things, sometimes I don't properly clean up my system that I'm using it on. I don't archive things. Like, I don't always do it. I'm in a hurry or whatever. And then all of a sudden, Plasma gives me a warning about your disk is getting too full. I'm like, oh my goodness, what did I do wrong? So there's this application called Konqueror, spelled with a K, Konqueror. It's an old KDE application from days of old that Dolphin basically replaced for the most part. But it's a browser and a file manager. And what I like is it has this thing called a file size viewer. And it gives you a visual representation of how big all your folders are. It's super cool. And this is how I find, so one of the things that Syncthing does is it creates backups as you synchronize, and it cleans those up after a time. But sometimes if I had an issue where I was organizing a lot of photos, and then that created a lot of backups. And so I had gigs of backup photos that were created because Syncthing, you can better adjust this for your needs, but so Syncthing created a lot of photo backups. And so I had to go through and I basically found those because of the folders and whatnot. And I had to manually clean those up. And also, when I go to edit Linux Saloon, it's usually a couple of gigs at a time of stuff. And if I don't diligently clean these things out of my folders and archive things appropriately, they can build up, and so it's a reminder of where all those files are. It's great for also a lot of times when I'm doing videos for CubicleNate, my CubicleNate YouTube or whatever. I will again forget to clean out all the the original videos, and so I have gigs and gigs of videos. Anyway, so because I'm a terrible sysadmin, it allows me to clean up my drives because I can find and locate what's taking up all the space very quickly. By very quickly, I mean after it goes through the drive, and then have a nice clean system and clear out 100 or 200 gigs of stuff that doesn't need to be on my computer. So Konqueror with the plugin that has file size view is absolutely fantastic. I love it. I don't know what I'd do without it. I know there's a terminal way of doing it too. Eric Adams told me a thing, and I used it for a little bit, but I just happen to like the graphical way of doing it in Konqueror so much better. So I've just continually used that. So anyway, so you can check it out if you run a Plasma. I'm sure you can install it some other way, but I don't know if there's anything else like that on Gnome where that's more desktop agnostic, but this is really pretty great. So check it out. Konqueror. Did anybody else have any other applications they wanted to offer? I'm sure I feel like Jinda just is like clawing at the screen at his webcam to say something, but his microphone is just slapping him upside the head and taking him out behind the woodshed and doing all kinds of things that they don't do these days to people anymore.
I'll go back to what Mark had about cleaning metadata.
Okay.
Gnome actually makes an application called metadata cleaner,
Okay.
and you can they talk about how it's hard for you to know all the metadata that's in there, so you can just erase everything that's in like your pictures or anything you want to share online. It's pretty simple GUI app.
Metadata cleaner. Okay.
Yes, there's I think a FlyHub too.
All right, I have to check that out. You used to be able to do that like in Dolphin, like right click and then actually edit metadata, but I think maybe it's a plugin that I have to re-add or something like that, but I haven't seen that in a while. I like to be able to edit the metadata. I think that's a great thing to have.
It's so frustrating when you can't edit the metadata.
Yeah. Anna Ritas offered up FreeTube as an application she uses. I don't know FreeTube. Maybe I've heard it before and I just haven't followed up on it. But I don't know.
We tried it, I think, one time for Biddle, I think.
Am I that dense?
I think we tried that. It might have been like a couple of years ago, though.
Private YouTube client. Interesting.
Yeah, so basically it takes away as much as possible the telemetry of YouTube, I think.
I got you.
And then I don't know if it strips the ads. It might. I'm not sure. I don't remember if they did it or not.
Oh, I see. LGR made the different screenshots. That's cool. So one of these I watch on there. DistroTube also made it too. That's cool. See, I like to be able to comment on things or like. I don't know. Does anybody here? Like, I always like to encourage the creator. Like I've noticed lately, like there have been some creators on YouTube that have been getting really frustrated by, I guess, just negative Nancys out there, or negative Nathans, I guess. Maybe if you want to use the masculine.
Obstinate. I miss that guy.
Oh yeah, obstinate. Yeah, I tried to put him in the closet, because he's not good for this show, especially if I'm the host. Anyway, so I like to encourage people a lot as much as possible. Like when I can tell that they're getting discouraged, like I know like a few weeks ago Steve was a little discouraged, and I always like to tell him happy, nice things in the chat. I don't know if you noticed that, Steve, but I'm always putting it out there because I want you to be encouraged and to do things. And I appreciate it when people take the time to do a thing. And when somebody else poo-poos on it, I'm just like, go away. Don't be a doo-doo bird.
Okay, I'll leave.
Adam, you're different. The way you say things, it brings a smile to your face. To my face, anyway. Or maybe to your face, too.
It's my cromulent vocabulary.
That's right. You embiggen me with your comments. So, yeah, I like to... I understand the privacy concerns and everything else, but golly, if it means that somebody else can maybe have like, a good day or change their mind a little bit about, what they're doing, I'll send it. There was a guy I was watching, and he actually hadn't created anything in a while, and it's because like people were demanding he did things on his station, on his channel, and he was just really down about it, and so he kind of gave like a little thing. He says, I don't care if people unsubscribe. If you don't like this, then please unsubscribe. And I'm like, I'm absolutely shocked that someone would take the time just to digitally hurt somebody else. Like, just if you don't like something, just go away. Doesn't that seem
change the channel, right?
Yeah, there's plenty of YouTubes out there. Go someplace else. Just don't. I don't know. It's really
That's
weird.
what people like to do, Nate. People just like to go and give people a hard time because they've got nothing else better to do.
Yeah, it's just really weird to me. I think it's just absolute bizarre behavior.
Well, it's because I don't know. Maybe they just had a hard life and just don't know anything else to do but vent to other people or something. I'm not sure why, but
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite negative comments is, "This is 5 minutes or this is 20 minutes. I'll never get back." And it's like,
yeah.
well, thanks for the 5 minutes of watch. It's like that's your problem, buddy.
Oh, it still doesn't work.
Oh no, it's working now.
Oh
It
no!
does?
Oh.
Yeah. You fixed it.
I fixed it.
With 8 minutes to go.
Getting ready to call you
Yay.
Penguin.
That's not very nice.
I hate Zoom.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's all good because a lot of these things will be outtakes at the very end, and I'm going to enjoy this a lot.
Actually, I know you will, so it's okay.
Yeah. In fact, every time I mess up, I laugh inside a little bit because I can make a little outtake of it. In fact, just as a side note, my oldest, he'll actually watch the videos, but only the outtakes.
Somehow I don't blame him.
So I got to make them a little bit longer, I guess. Get that watch time. So Jinda, did you have an application you wanted to share?
I had one called Stacer.
Stacer. Okay. Tell me about
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. So Colin knows about it. Yeah. It's kind of like
It's a system monitor, yeah?
yeah, it's a
Is that the
system
one?
monitor
Yeah.
that has a lot more features in it than most. How about that?
Okay.
And,
And
it's
it
very,
looks nice.
yes,
Yeah,
it's
it-
graphically pleasing. Yeah.
Wait, I think I've tried this before.
Yeah, it's become popular recently. I think Stacer.
Well, it's been out for years. It's like 5-6 years now.
Cool.
I don't know how accurate it is though, compared to HTOP or anything like that. But
I'm sure it's
Can't
pulling
hear
from the
that.
same.
I can't hear the name Stacer without thinking of Outer Worlds, and they have a brand of thing in there called Spacer's Choice, and their slogan is "You've tried the best, now try the rest." And so I just can't so I get this connection of Stacer and bad quality together. I can't separate it in my head.
Joe says Stacer can be as dangerous as Bleach Bit if you're not careful, but it's a great app.
Well, I don't want to bleach anything unnecessarily, but I'm sure you can't. Well, I'm gonna have to look into it now. That's neat. I think it's a neat looking app for sure because it kind of feels like a they took like the new KDE system tool monitor. I can't remember what it's called offhand. I can launch it here. System monitor, the overview. It kind of looks like a more colorful version of that. So I think I stopped using it
Very
because
nice to look at.
yeah, I have to check that out again. Yeah, the
They should
system
have called
cleaner.
it. They should have called it Command Center with a K.
Yes. You know, in German they spell computer with a K, so I think it's appropriate.
Do they use Linux over there, or
In Germany, yeah.
Big fans of Mortal Kombat, I see.
they must be using KDE by default then?
I think it was started by a German, if I'm not. It's the cool desktop environment with a K, or the cigarette company. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, very cool. Stacer is available in the OpenSUSE repositories. I'm not sure which one, but it's available. Yeah, it's a neat tool. I like that. Stacer. I am so glad you finally got your microphone working so you could kick that out there and and for me to talk about what's going on next week. All right, well, thank you very much for those applications. They'll be in the show notes when this is all said and done. So, yeah, I like that. It gives me some stuff to look at. I like playing with new things, and it's a great way. I like it. These potlucks. I think they're a good way to see a bunch of things. But if you have any suggestions for applications, feel free to send those to suggestions at linuxsaloon.com. Next week is an open mic night, so bring your topics, whatever they are. It can be anything. Just from a thread on the Tux Digital forum, or maybe expand an idea that's talked about in the Linux Saloon Telegram or Discord or wherever. Anything you like, we can bring it to the table for discussion. I like these deep topics when we get into something, interesting. So usually that requires an Adam and a Colin and anybody else too, but Adam likes to throw some wrenches into whatever we think. So I appreciate that. In the following week, so not next week, but the week after, in 2 weeks, we're going to do distro exploration. And so here's just some ideas right now that are floating around that I have in the recorded. And so I'm going to kick these out here. So Linux Lite, it was recommended by Dino BR channel on Twitter. PC Linux OS, could try that one out. The OpenSUSE Micro OS, it's an immutable, it's kind of like Silverblue, but an OpenSUSE flavor. Tiny/Microcore, I've never seen that one. Linux Mint, Joe Panico would probably like that one since he was just talking about that. And Fedora Silverblue. So there's just some ideas. We don't have to decide tonight, but I'd like to maybe get some discussion in the Telegram. See what people are into. Maybe Eris can do a poll. Maybe like not an official poll. Maybe he can do a poll. I don't know. These are some ideas. I'm not telling Eris what he has to do. He can tell me to go pound sand. That's fine too. I would like to do vanilla OS at some time, but I think it's very unique, and just to try it like a regular distro probably wouldn't do it justice. So if
you got to kind of wait now too, because they're switching over to a Debian base.
Okay, but I think also maybe in that time, like in the next few weeks or months or whatever, if we could maybe develop some kind of these are things you should try in vanilla OS, which make it really cool, really to kind of highlight those features, that would be great. I just don't know. I know that Colin, you've explored it, and I know Steve, you've obviously explored it because you've talked about it quite a bit. So if you have maybe some like things that we should try, this is a cool thing to do in vanilla OS. You can't really do anywhere else. I think I would love to if we could like maybe put something together on that. Maybe it could be another Telegram group discussion. Anyway, don't, Eris, you can tell me to pound sand. Anyway, or it could be a thread on the Tux Digital forum too. So if you have any other suggestions for distros or topics, anything, send them to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com. I do collect these things, and I appreciate it whenever I can get something interesting. Or you can on the Twitter or Mastodon, or I think I'm on a few others now too. You can send it to where you find Cubicle Nate, if he can find himself. I did want to bring up one off topic, like totally off the Linux and open source. Well, I mean open source, but I read an article where, does anybody here eat at McDonald's? I don't recommend it unless they sponsor the show, then I'll recommend it. But outside of that, if every once in a while I'll have McDonald's, and I worked at a McDonald's, my first job I ever had, and my favorite sandwich they actually ever was called the Arch Deluxe. Did anybody ever have the Arch Deluxe?
Oh my God, that's going back.
Yeah.
What is that? I think I've heard of it.
Yeah.
So never knew Macca's had a sandwich. Never heard of Macca's having a sandwich. Only burgers over here. Sorry, the Macca's is very big in Australia. We call it Macca's. It's actually short for McDonald's.
Oh, okay.
You'll never hear it anywhere else. Yeah, Macca's. Yeah.
So it was 1996 when this came out. I think that's when I got the job in 96 there.
Wow.
And it had like this potato bun. It was kind of like, to me, it was like the McDonald's answer to the Whopper from Burger King.
Yeah, it did. Lettuce, tomato.
Yeah. And had like this potato bun. I absolutely loved the potato bun. And I had the opportunity of making like, I would basically make my own version of that in the back. I'd toast the bun a little bit. So it'd be kind of a combination somewhere between like a Big Mac and a Arch Deluxe. Anyway, but apparently it was the most expensive flop that McDonald's ever had. I mean, it's obviously not on the menus now. And they spent like $200 million to advertise a sandwich that very few people even want to order. How much? Like $200 million. This is like $1996, so that's like.
What was the sandwich again?
The Arch Deluxe.
Arch Deluxe.
Oh, was that similar to the Big and Nasty or Big and Tasty, whatever it was called?
They brought that back, kind of like that. Yeah, quite a few years later.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do remember the Arch Deluxe now that you mentioned it.
Wow, you said
like, I simultaneously forgot about the Arch Deluxe.
So because it's got the Arch name in it, did you have to build the burger yourself and wrap it yourself as well, or?
No.
You drop it on the floor, it'll roll.
It was no, it was actually, it came in like a little box. It wasn't a wrapped one, it was a boxed one, so it was the fancier.
Oh, and yeah, they were in the boxes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's the fancy ones get the box.
Is that the polystyrene type boxes, or was that
no
that cardboard box?
No, they're cardboard. You can more than see the grease in the cardboard.
But anyway, I just thought about that. Also, another thing that not related to the article at all. but there is, I can put the article in the that I read. It was on somehow Firefox. When you start Firefox up, it gives you like different like things like the Get Pocket, whatever. And every once in a while, they snag me with an interesting article, and this is one of them. But the other thing that I wish McDonald's would bring back was they had like different sized Big Macs. This is a few, I don't know, maybe like 5-6 years ago or so. Does anybody remember this? They had like the.
No, I don't remember that.
It was like.
Yeah, they had like a King Big Mac or something.
Yeah,
like that?
something like that. Yeah, it was a. I can't remember what
Yeah,
it was
like
exactly.
The Big King or something like that.
Yeah, Big King. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the name of it, but I liked it because it was like a Big Mac, but with like the quarter pounder patty. So it was like a half pound of beef on this sucker, and it was just the best Big Mac experience I ever had. And then they took it away. So
If you're really hungry one time and you're at McDonald's and you like a Big Mac, you can always tell them to make you a Monster Mac.
will they actually do
And
it?
and in case they don't, the person who you're talking to doesn't know what you're talking about, you should get the manager, and they're supposed to know what it is. And it's a secret menu item. It's a Big Mac that has 8 patties and
I don't want that.
eight slices of cheese.
No.
Gee.
No, I don't want that. I'd feel like garbage. Now,
So
My son would go for that.
yeah, but that Arch Deluxe sound like it came out. It's one of those times that the McRib was out,
yeah,
and I think that
the McRib is a come and go. So I think it comes like it's an annual
Yeah.
item. So even Sean
Yeah.
Gold says, how much has McDonald's poured into the McRib over the years? Well, they don't keep the McRib on the menu because if they did, nobody would buy it.
oh
was-
wow,
Yeah, because it just wasn't very good. It's like
Oh.
it's only exciting for a moment, and then like, oh, I remember the McRib. So probably like every other year or so, I think it comes back out.
oh yeah.
Eris, that's hilarious. Arch Deluxe sounds like a distro, and yes, I think it
Mhm.
should be.
It does sound like a distro.
Arch Deluxe is like you run Arch that has a real installer, so it's like Archcraft to be like Arch Deluxe.
Ooh.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, that was it. That was a total side tangent. I just want to bring that up because it was something kind of fun and exciting. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
But I was gonna bring up Instant OS as
What?
being something to check out.
Instant OS.
Yes. It's based on Arch, but I've looked at it and it was pretty cool.
You instantly liked it?
You must have. He brought it up.
I thought it was nice.
Well, there's
Or
another
was
one
it
you
a
could look.
brief instant?
I've got 2, Nate. You can jot down if you want.
What, Instant OS? Hang on.
Wait
one
till
second.
he's-
Instant OS.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arch based. Swift. I'm gonna give the Swift credit this. All right. And then what do you have, Colin?
Vanilla OS has another one that's sort of very similar as Blend OS, which is made by the guy who does Ubuntu Unity. The young guy, I think it is.
Yeah, Rudra.
The kid, yeah. He does Blend OS, so he's doing some stuff with that. I was running it for a while, but it actually exploded
still
on
Pretty buggy.
virtual machine.
He released it
so-
really quick because he was going through midterms or whatever he said.
Yeah. I think he's bringing another. He's refreshing the ISO soon, I believe.
Okay.
Not sure when, but
I think Blend OS is an Arch immutable. That's the difference between that
Yes.
and the Vanilla OS.
yes. And the other one is I don't know if you've all heard about it. Flatpak remix.
It's the one Jay
yeah,
from
that's the one. Yeah.
Linux Learns.
Yeah, Linux Learn TV. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have added those to the list, and we'll check that out. That's great. Thanks for the suggestions. That's mighty awesome of all y'all. Don't say all y'all. Y'all.
Yeah.
All y'all.
I can't remember who it was that had noise, which is why I started saying it. Sometimes I'm not a good person. All right. Well, it is that time to do last call, and I don't know if Colin, if you had anything you wanted to shout out, to talk about, to say. You know, your videos are on hiatus right now until things settle a little bit for you.
No,
what?
I haven't done nothing with videos. I don't know. Things to talk about in Linux. at the moment. I mean, I think I run a course for myself at the moment, whereas, I was really helping a lot of people out with information, but I think Linux has got to a point where people can install it and run it, and there's not a huge amount of problems. Probably still some problems around, but not as much as what they used to be, which is what my channel was all about. Otherwise, you're going through the motions of just doing, look at this distro and look at that distro, which gets a little bit on the boring side. So maybe I need to change what my channel does, maybe look at applications like we talk about here or something like that. I'm not sure, because Linux has really got to that point. The only other thing I would like to explore, which I've been looking at, is new file systems. So there's new file systems around to what there used to be. Like, I don't know much about ButterFS, XFS. They seem to be the two new file systems on the block at the moment. I was looking at the way Tumbleweed did their file system with ButterFS, and has got a whole heap of all of these different things that it uses, and also so it's got the var and the root and all this sort of stuff. So I don't know what the standard for ButterFS is. If you did one, if you tried to do one on like some install that uses Calamares, how does that set ButterFS up? Does it do a big long list of all this stuff, or does it just do small? I don't know. So I wouldn't mind maybe exploring that and find out how good these file systems are, instead of using ext4 and all that sort of thing.
That's cool. That's a good idea. I think you should pursue that. I can tell you from my understanding of OpenSUSE, they've actually changed the sub-volumes, how they set it up, but it's largely to optimize the snapshotting to be efficient.
Yeah.
So that's why that exists the way it does. And then it helps with the whole snapshotting, making it just a lot more simple. And they've simplified it also. So it's yeah.
But do you only use Snapper with that, or can you use other snapshot tools with ButterFS? Or, I mean, I don't even know anything about that. Does it only use one type of snapshot tool, or can you use multiple different ones? Or I know I think Tumbleweed uses Snapper out of the box. Is that right? Is it Snapper?
Correct. It uses Snapper and it integrates with Grub and everything else. So I think that's just the preferred tool in OpenSUSE, but I don't think that you are limited to how you snapshot things. I think probably wouldn't have two different snapshotting things running at the same time, I'm guessing. But also depends on if you have a copy on write is activated or not, because you can adjust copy on write per sub volume. So you don't need to have that on all the sub volumes. And Snapper takes care of cleaning up, which actually it's just calling the ButterFS cleanup tool that's built into the file system. So
right.
All right. Well, excellent. So if you whenever you end up starting to do videos again, let us know.
Yeah, sure.
Steve, I saw the notification that you're going to have a show tomorrow morning. Are you going to start at 9 or a little after? Or I should say 8.
Your time?
Yeah. 8. Your time?
I set up 8:15 so I can be fashionably late.
Okay.
Just I'm not sure. Just the regular stuff. Although Martin Wimpress replied to a comment I made on one of his streams actually a while ago, and he directed me to a program called Firebot, but it looks like it can only be used with Twitch streaming. But I was going to take a look at it because there's also a Linux for Windows and Linux, and adds functionality to your, I believe, OBS or Streamlabs or type of setup. But that was nice of him to, reach out and say, hey, check this out. Because he does a lot of scripting in that. If you ever watch his streams, they're pretty, I bowed down to his OBS greatness, and that. So
it's pretty amazing.
I know it's Easter Sunday for most tomorrow, but I don't have no plans, so we'll be on in the morning.
Well, I will say, from my limited experience with Mr. Martin Wimpress, he seems like a really swell feller. So I think
he is.
He seems like a real swell guy. I don't want to say nice necessarily, because that could be misleading. But he's swell. Mark, the Atlanta Linux Enthusiast Group, are they meeting tomorrow?
Yes, they are. Every Sunday, the Atlanta Linux enthusiasts meet for a help session. They meet from 3 to 6 U.S. Eastern, and there's really no set agenda. You just join and ask for help. Again, we try to stick on topic with Linux and open source applications and such. Yeah, we've had a lot of people joining recently and good conversations. You don't have to stay for the whole time. You can pop in, ask your question, and then leave, and that's just fine. Again, so and anyone's welcome to join. Again, it's U.S. Eastern times, 3 to 6 p.m. every Sunday, and you can find out more at ale.org. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I can vouch for them. I was there last week, and it was pretty cool.
All right. If anybody else had anything they wanted to pipe in there. Ulfnic, thank you very much for being here. You take care of a lot of stuff in the Tux Digital Forum, so I do appreciate that. And also, I do post the shows after they're uploaded and whatever YouTube has to do to the Tux Digital Forum. So if you want to have, like, leave comments there as opposed to on YouTube or whatever else, you can do that as well. So thank you, Ulfnic, for all the work you do on the forums.
Oh, thanks, Nick.
So Linux user space, I think they're still on a little bit of a break. You know, I don't know. I forgot to ask Dan and Leo what I should say about Linux user space. So I'll tell you, always send them feedback. They like feedback. And I know their next operating system they're going to try out is Raspberry Pi OS. The next distro, I should say, they're trying. So if you have any comments you want to give them, any feedback about that or whatever, do that. I'm on a podcast called Linux Out Loud. We just recorded an episode on Linux OEMs. Are they worth the money? To which I will say, in short, me personally, I know that companies like System76 and Tuxedo Computers and others out there, they do a lot of work with like the kernel, getting drivers to work, and they do a lot of things upstream to help across the Linux ecosystem make things better for all of us. So I know that when you do support a Linux OEM, that does translate to helping everybody out. So it's something to think about. It's not for everybody, but if you do buy a Linux OEM, I do know that they do a lot to really help us universally across the board. So I do appreciate that. I personally don't think that they're a ripoff. I saw some kind of harshly worded comments about Linux OEMs. I think they do good work. So that's my opinion. You can take it or leave it, flush it down the toilet. I don't care, but I think that they do a lot of good work. And speaking of good work, I don't do that, but on cubicleinate.com, I did create a Steam Deck resource. So like cubicleinate.com/Steam Deck, and if you have any like criticisms, or if you want to if there's anything else that you think is important that I maybe link there, it's just something I did mostly for me. The things that my exploration, my discoveries I make with the Steam Deck, I've been putting there to help me out. If it helps somebody else out, awesome. And if there's something else that you think that I should check out on the Steam Deck and link there, let me know. I'd appreciate that. Linux Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network. Check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com, like Destination Linux, Sudo Show, or Hardware Addicts. They're great to listen to. I enjoy them very much. So check that out, tuxdigital.com. I want to thank you all for your support, however you do it, by being a part of the conversation here on Zoom or on YouTube, or if you watch the show after the fact, that means a lot to me too. So much appreciated. I want to thank everyone involved for making the Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back into personal computers. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yas.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Here.
Hi there. I forgot to turn on the microphones to include mine. I'll do that again. One is about StrawPolls continue to be Jinda, what do you think of the layout? Is it something that are you more of on the indifferent side? You like it? What do you think? Oh, I can't hear you. You're muted. Maybe you can't hear me. That I'm telling him he's muted. You're muted, yeah, Jinda.
Yeah.
So you said something. It looked like it was really good too, and then I couldn't hear it. I was really disappointed.
You're not muted on Telegram though.
You mean Zoom?
I mean, Zoom, yeah. Telegram, I don't mind. Zoom.
No, still can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Yeah, we still can't hear you, unfortunately.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, because you sounded great when we started this thing, and then all of a sudden, like it's. Uh-oh.
It might have been the automatic microphone, I guess,
Yeah,
possibly.
maybe. What do you think,
Probably
Mark?
a Linux thing.
Let's find it. Hey now.
He even said that. Oh no, that was Anna.
Yeah.
Back.
He's back. Is his volume working? Well, he's muted and
Well, he's muted on Zoom now. Nope.
nope.
We still can't hear you, unfortunately.
And it's kicking your butt today.
Maybe he unplugged something by accident. He didn't notice.
Yeah, maybe. When I started the stream, I didn't have the easy effects running for the OBS, and I noticed a little bit of like dancing because there's room noise. I gotta fix that someday.
Sorry, go ahead, Colin.
Sorry. Well, I tried.
I have one.
But I like the. Now
You know it.
All right, so I didn't have anything. We are out of time. Oh, we did start late.
I think he's bringing. Sorry, Aris, go on.
No, go ahead.
All right.
It's
And also,
sorry.
yeah, no, you talk about BlendOS first before I go on.
I was gonna say
I don't know.
Well, that's another thing. Do you,
Oh, and thanks, because y'all made my trip home a lot more tolerable.
excellent. I'm glad to hear that.
awesome.